Welcome to North TV's coverage of the 2025 North Attleboro Town election. It's the first of two election night coverage we will be providing. On Monday of next week, April 7th, I'll be at Plainville Town Hall. No contested races in Plainville, so that should be a fairly quick evening. I'm not sure how quick tonight is going to go, however, with 19 candidates on the ballot for town council and 3 for 2 seats on the school committee, although there's a very good chance that Keith LaPointe's seat on the school committee will be vacant. I'll really be surprised if Keith LaPointe is not one of the 9 elected. Peter Gay, along with former Sun Chronicle managing editor?
Editor-in-chief.
Editor-in-chief.
I was managing editor, and I bumped up to editor-in-chief.
I have a feeling later on in the night, as we're trying to fill time, I'll have you describe a managing editor, editor-in-chief, and all of that. And then, of course, there's a publisher and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Been 8 years since I've been editor.
You've been gone that long now,
Been going 8 years.
Still writes a column.
Still write a column.
Been
writing features every Saturday.
Do you call that the weekend edition or the Saturday-Sunday edition?
The weekend edition.
I call it the Saturday-Sunday edition.
Yep, I've been writing column and I've been writing features.
And you are retired from W.H. Riley and Son?
Yeah, I'm retired a year ago now.
But you're doing a lot of writing still.
Doing it and enjoying it.
So, did you ever think you would see a day when there would be 19 candidates for town council?
No, and I've been advocating for a while that this shouldn't do it this way. They should have 3-year terms and then this rotates. So every 3 years, 3 seats would open up, and you would, because that way you would have a town council race on the ballot every year. Right now, when you don't have a town council race on the ballot, turnout is horrible. And then it would also, infuse new blood into the town council every year. Theoretically, that could happen while keeping some institutional knowledge there as well. So that's what I've been pushing. But
tonight is going to be very interesting. I believe it was Dan Donovan in a story by Stephen Peterson in yesterday's Sun Chronicle, who stated that this is really going to determine the future of North Attleboro town government, because the current council, moved in a certain direction, and at least financially, some would argue, a strong direction. The town is on the verge of, and I guess they will know by the end of April, whether or not they get a AAA bond rating, which is the highest rating the credit bureaus give. The bond, I'm not sure they're credit bureaus, but whomever issues those ratings, which means you borrow at the lowest percentage possible.
And that would certainly come in handy if the town voters were to approve the new high school, which comes on the ballot in early June. Yeah.
Could save up to $9 million, maybe even more, according to town manager Michael Borg, I believe, at the last town council meeting, excuse me, which would have been on March 24th. Then, of course, there is another segment of the population. Are they the vocal minority? I guess we're going to find out tonight. Who thinks the town, to quote some of the candidates that came into this studio, the town has a spending problem. Some of those people feel that the town should not be taxing to the 2.5 limit. I personally think that would be foolish.
Absolutely.
I think when the town Board of Selectmen 20, 30 years ago, when they had that golden cow, Emerald Square Mall, well, we don't need to raise taxes to 2.5%. Well, that eventually caught up to them, and therefore the need for the override about, what was that, about 5 years ago?
Yeah, about 5 years ago now, yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, but I've covered a lot of towns. I've covered Attleboro, I covered North Attleboro, I covered Norton, I covered Plainville. And there's always somebody in town who thinks their town government is spending too much. Always. There's always a vocal minority that thinks the town is spending too much. So I don't find them to be, I think sometimes governments think the way we're going to solve the problem is by putting more money into it. That is a kind of a common reflex of town officials, and sometimes there's other ways around it. But I do know that that feeling is out there among some voters.
Excuse me. If you are into drinking games, you might you might want to have a drink every time I cough, because I have been fighting the worst cough for about 2.5 weeks. If you watch the one-on-one interviews I did with the candidates, I think there was only 2 in which I made the entire 10 minutes or 15 minutes without coughing. I've got my Ricola here, I've got plenty of water here, but just the constant post-nasal drip, and the only way I can clear my vocal cords is to cough. And my apologies for that, but if you are into drinking games, I urge you not to drive after watching tonight's episode. Mike, let's talk about the candidates. I know Chris Miller worked very hard on putting a graphic together that when you see it will be very impressive. It lists all the candidates and wherever possible their photos as well. We don't have the photo of Michael Gould Jr. because he did not come in for his one-on-one interview, nor did Troy Goodman. The candidates, and this is the way they were listed on the ballot: Justin Paré, Donald Cerrone, Kara Ann Caranci, John Costello, I mentioned Gould Jr., Mark Gould Jr., back-to-back, which I would think would help them. If you're voting for one of the Goulds, you might as well vote for the other Gould, right? John Simmons, Zachariah Johnson, Joseph Reza, Kevin McCarthy, Troy Goodman, James Lang, David Canada Jr. Certainly has a lot of name recognition because he was on the ballot as the Republican candidate for state representative against Adam Scanlon this past November. Leo Glennon, Daniel Donovan, Patricia St. Pierre, Laura Wagner, Andrea Slobogin, and Keith LaPointe. Mike, in your opinion, and great job by Chris Miller putting that graphic together. That looks like a network type graphics. But do you think it makes a difference in an election like this where there are 19 names where you are positioned on the ballot? Like, is it possible that people who had every intention of voting for Keith LaPointe got down and it's like, oh no, I've already done mine?
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. I know people usually like to be first or last, because Attleboro's always had that lottery, and they've always like, oh, I'm the first one on the ballot. They like that. So, but I've never seen it make a big difference in a race. I think people come in there, as I went in today with my list, and done.
Yeah,
so I made my decisions.
Yeah,
I'm not going to make my decisions in the voting booth.
Yeah, if you don't know heading into the polls where the candidates stand, and I personally think North TV did a great job with the interviews. I thought the Sun Chronicle did a good job as well with their candidate profiles. North Star Reporter did the same. So the information was out there.
Yep.
And if people went to the polls uninformed about all of the candidates, shame on them.
Sure.
Then again, there are going to be some people going to the polls who, for instance, if your name was on the ballot, are you going to vote for 8 other people, or are you just going to cast a ballot for
bullet
yourself?
Voting, yeah, that's called bullet voting, yes. I did not vote for 9. I voted for fewer than 9.
Did you really?
Yeah, fewer than 9. And I knew some other people who did the same thing.
It would be interesting, and I'll have to ask Pat over at the elections office maybe in a few days
let it
when
calm
things
down.
settle down, because I believe, in addition to tallying all the ballots tonight, then tomorrow you have to start getting all the information ready to send to the Secretary of State's office to be verified and certified and so on. But it would be interesting to see if there is a way to determine how many people voted for just one candidate and how many people voted for 9 candidates.
Sure. I did not vote for all 9, just because I just didn't feel as comfortable doing that. And then the candidates that I did vote for, I voted for almost 9, but the candidates I voted for, I was comfortable with. I felt I could easily give them my support. And I will say one thing too. A lot of credit goes to these people for running for office. It takes a lot nowadays to run for office in this age of social media.
Well,
19 candidates.
I think you bring up a very good point, because years ago you might see an occasional letter to the editor, you might turn on WARA and the talk show host or some of the callers are bashing the job that
Right.
the council is doing. Now,
Yep.
any Tom, Dick, and Harry can just post whatever they want about you. Doesn't even have to be true.
Nope.
And people, for some reason, just believe it's true because it's on the
If you
internet.
saw it on the internet, it's got to be true. And the other thing is too is that, let's face it, going to a town council meeting is not the most thrilling thing to do. It's a big commitment. You're committing yourself to 2 years of this, and you're committing yourself of how many hours a week that you're going to have to do this. It's a big commitment, and it's not like they're getting paid a lot of money for doing this either.
I don't think they get paid any
No,
money.
they don't.
Yeah, not only do you have the Monday meeting every 2 weeks, the second and fourth Monday of the month, but I believe every counselor is assigned to a subcommittee.
Subcommittee.
And that's at least one meeting
Yeah.
a
Well, no,
month, in addition to the 2 meetings. And if you're someone like John Simmons, who is the chair of the Finance Subcommittee, I mean, you're meeting 1-2 times a week just as the subcommittee, and then you've got the Monday meeting on top of it.
Right. Anybody running for municipal government or serving just as an appointed official, that's a pretty big commitment, even if it's the zoning board or conservation commission, because they're still going to be meeting once a month, and they got to have some expertise and so forth. So, and like I say, you don't get paid for this. This is a volunteer effort. So, so my hat's off to them for putting their hats in the ring. And getting 19 candidates. Hopefully the turnout was good. The turnout was good when I was there. The turnout was good when my wife was there.
I did have some numbers. I did stop over to the election office, see if I can find them here in my phone. Let's see, I texted them to myself. Here we go. As of noon, 900 people had cast ballots. Polls, of course, opened at 7 a.m., so that's 5 hours into the day. That 900 equaled 4%. Now at 5 p.m., that number more than doubled. 2,213 people had cast ballots. That was 9%. I believe the number that I heard projected over at the election office was 12 to 14%. You voted in North Attleboro for years. I typically vote during the day. I try to get over there before work gets out. Do you get many people casting ballots after 5 o'clock?
Yeah, you'll still get quite a few voting late. They're coming in after work, so they may be working till 5 or 6, or they may work till 5, but they work in Boston or Providence or something, so they're coming in. So, oh yeah, I think that 12 to 14%, that's a pretty realistic number.
And of course, there's another election coming up on June 3rd.
That'll be bigger.
That will be for a debt exclusion of about $290 million. The state is expected to pitch in about $100 million, so the town would be on the hook for about $190 million. And for those people who were critical of some of the financial decisions this current council has made, if indeed the town does get that AAA rating and the debt exclusion passes for a new high school, they're going to be thankful.
Yeah. It's be interesting to see, because you're going to get much higher turnout for that election, no question, because if it's $1,000, they're putting the average home, taxes would go up $1,000 a year for, 30 years, I believe. So, I mean, that's a kind of a big thing, Plus, if you're a parent, you might want the school, and there are certain people who say, I just can't afford another $1,000 a year.
No, I've heard from some residents, and I don't know about you, because although you're still very involved with the newspaper, I don't know if people ask you about town government. Like,
Not as much as they used to.
if I'm out in North Attleboro, someone will say, hey, what's going on with such and such? Because they know I'm covering it on a daily basis. And one of the things I've heard, and it's a criticism of the NAHS School Building Committee and the Town Council, they're saying, no, it's going to be more than $1,000. And I've been assured that, this is the way we calculated it, working with the Assessor's Department. interest rates and so on, it's going to be $1,000.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's a 50-some-odd-year-old building. It probably needs to be replaced, and it's not going to get cheaper. So, I mean, it's just not.
And
It's not going to get cheaper.
And one of the questions during the last community forum, and I believe it was former town administrator and former selectman Mark Fisher who asked the question, is it possible it may end up costing $290 million? And I believe it was the architect or the construction manager who said, no, if that is the case, we will cut back in a couple areas that, would still not impact the product.
Sure.
But, for example, we might go with a carpet that's a little less expensive and so on. So we have a candidate in the doorway here. Do you want to wait until the returns are in, or do you want to join us now?
It's your call.
Just join us now. We need help filling. You're going to sit right behind there. The candidate is, of course, a member of that NEHS School Building Committee and
Yes, sir.
a member of the school committee for now,
now.
and a candidate for town council. Let me ask you, first of all, and some people who are new to North Attleboro may not know this, North Attleboro High School is not too far from the World War I Memorial Park, which is the highest point above sea level in all of southeastern Massachusetts.
All Bristol County, at least.
Oh, that's right,
All
Bristol County. And even on a day that's not windy, it's windy at North Attleboro High School. And I drove by twice today. Keith LaPointe, it looked windy over there.
Oh, it was very windy, yeah. It was a funny day. As elections go, and I've stood on that sideline a bunch of times now, it was a generally good day. The temperature was okay. We got some nice sun kind of in the midday period, but the wind was blowing, and what was hard was it was changing directions. So you'd be kind of bracing the sign from the forward wind, and then it would come from behind you and pull it out of your hands. But I think as days go, sunny, reasonable temperature.
Oh, can you imagine same temperature, same wind with rain?
Yeah, I mean, last year we had drizzle most of the day, and then I think about 5 o'clock or so it started raining, so then all your stuff was wet, and I'll take today any day.
I don't know if you heard what I was talking about earlier. As of noon, 900 people had cast ballots. That's roughly 4%. By 5 p.m., that number was up to 22 and change,
Yeah.
About 9%. Were you there after 5 o'clock? Was there a steady stream of cars?
Yeah, I think from 5 to 6:30, and my guesstimate was probably the heaviest. It's always hard to judge because you get that kind of rush of the teachers going to professional development in the morning, and then after their school day, and then there's the spring athletes coming and going. So it's a little hard to know, but I would say that stretch from 5 to 6:30 seemed like the heaviest voter traffic to me. I know they finished somewhere around 12%.
So without pulling into Wilson Woody Way, which I did not, I tried to look without smashing into the car in front of me, how many of the 19 council candidates were represented there. Was pretty much everyone there?
Pretty much all. I think maybe 4-ish maybe didn't have representation that I saw at least. But I'd say the other 14 or 15 were represented there most of the day.
With that many candidates, was it more difficult, or did it really not make a difference in getting your message out?
I think it was more difficult. Yeah, really. I think this was a tough election for voters. It's hard to sort through it anyways, and when you have 19, it's really hard. And it's funny. I was last on the ballot.
Okay.
And in previous years, people kind of get all excited about what position they were on the ballot. I was like, that doesn't matter. And then when I first saw the ballot today, or the sample ballot a couple weeks ago, I was like, ooh, not sure I like being at the bottom. It's a lot of names to work your way through.
Well, hopefully, and Mike said this, people did their homework before going to North Attleboro High School today. And Mike said, go there with the list,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to forget.
Totally. I even found myself, right, and I know the candidates really well at this point. I found myself, I circled my own bubble first, and then had to like count it a couple times, make sure I had my 9. And I did that. I think it was really hard. And I know, there was a lot of us that were pushing the concept of vote for 9. Like, it's important to seat an entire council, so don't get yourself hung up in who the president is. Vote for 9, put the best 9 councilors on the council. And I think people did that. I'll do the math later, but I think people were doing that. So when you do that, now you're really trying to make sure that you've got your 9 and you're checking. It's easy if you've got 3. Find them, pick them, and it's easy.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, I can't imagine stepping into a voting booth and not having your decisions already made.
Yeah.
Are you going to make up your mind when you're there?
Yeah, I don't know. How can you decide?
Keith LaPointe? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I had my list.
I will say, even for me personally, I had 10 names in my head, and I was really kind of coming down to this morning of like, oh, how am I going to make that last decision?
I just received a text from Kevin Daggett.
Oh.
They have the results.
Right.
So let me see if I can figure out how to put them on speakerphone. I did. Kevin, the results are in fairly early this evening.
Yeah, very quick.
All right, so let's start at the top of the ballot. Justin Paré. How many votes for Justin Paré?
2,002 votes.
2002. How about Donald Cerrone?
Let's see, Don Cerrone. 927.
927 for Don Cerrone. Cara Ann Sarancy.
Cara Ann Sarancy. Just a minute. So my order is a little different. I actually got them in order from most votes to least.
We don't want that because that'll give away the suspense.
No.
Okay.
So Cara Ann
So you
Sarancy.
said Cara. It's just going to take me a second to find her. That's
Okay. Because if we just go 1 through 9, what fun is that? There's no suspense.
So 1 through 19.
we could go 9 through 1.
No. So Cara Ann Sarancy, did you find her yet?
Still looking.
And it would also be easier for us in putting the graphics together.
Yeah. Cara Ann. Oh, found her. 946 votes.
All right. Then we have John, 946 for Cara Ann Sarancy. John Edward.
No, 496.
Oh,
Sorry.
you said 946. 496. 496 for Cara Ann Sarancy. John Edward Costello.
John Edward Costello. He got 1,500 votes.
1,500 on the nose. 1,500. Michael Peter Gould Jr.
Michael Peter Gould Jr.
Not to be confused with Mark Gould.
He got 665 votes.
Michael Peter Gould Jr., 665 votes. Mark Gould Jr.,
Mark Gould got 1,205 votes.
1,205 votes. John D. Simmons,
John D. Simmons got 1,765 votes.
1,765 votes for John Simmons. Zachariah S. Johnson,
He got 1,150 votes.
1,150 votes for Zachariah S. Johnson. Joseph P. Reza,
Let's see. Joseph P. Reza got 725 votes.
Joseph P. Reza, 725 votes. Kevin P. McCarthy,
Kevin P. McCarthy. Give me a second. He got 1,395 votes.
1,395 votes. Troy S. Goodman,
Troy S. Goodman. Looking for Troy. Troy S. Goodman got 423 votes.
423 votes for Troy S. Goodman. James P. Lang,
Let's see, James P. Lang. He got 420 votes.
420 votes for James P. Lang. David Canada Jr.,
David Kanata Jr. got 597 votes.
David Kanata Jr., 597 votes. Leo Anthony Glennon.
Leo, what was that again? Oh, no, I found him. Leo Anthony Glennon got 402 votes.
402
Someone's
votes.
laughing in the background.
Daniel Donovan.
Daniel Donovan, he got 1,404 votes.
1,404 votes. Patricia Ann St. Pierre.
Let's see. She got 1,040 votes.
1040,
Yep.
like the tax form.
Let's say,
Laura J. Wagner.
Laura J. Wagner got 1,256 votes.
1,256 votes. Andrea Slobogan.
Andrea Slobogan got 1,768 votes.
1,768 votes. And last but certainly not least, Keith Paul Lapointe.
1,829 votes.
1,829 votes. Let's go school committee. Lindsay Aubin Ben Harris.
School committee. Lindsay Aubin Ben Harris got 1,759 votes.
1,759 votes. Carrie Orsi.
1,365 votes.
1,365 votes. And Colleen Endress.
1,188 votes.
1,188 votes. Thank you, Kevin.
No problem.
Come on over because candidates are making their way in.
All right, I'll be letting them in.
All right, thank you. As a matter of fact, Justin Paré is at the door outside. I don't know if Eric could just quickly run and let him in. Yep, he's already in the room. So let's go through them. Justin Paré finished first. Second was Keith Lapointe. Third was Andrea Slobogan by a couple of votes, by 3 votes. Fourth was John Simmons at 1,765. Fifth, if I'm not mistaken, is John Costello with 1,500 votes. Sixth with 1,300, Dan Donovan, 1,404 votes. Seventh with 1,395 votes, Kevin McCarthy. Eighth, we should have asked Kevin because he had this all set. Eighth is Laura Wagner with 1,256 votes. And with 1,205 votes is Mark Gould. So that would be the top 9. Mike, do you have that?
that's what I have also, yeah.
Let me just make sure. Don Cerrone, 927, Sarancy, 496, Gould, 665, Johnson, 1,150. So he 55 behind Gould. Reza 725, Goodman 425, James Lang 420, David Kanata 597. So Patricia St. Pierre is the only incumbent who was not reelected, from what I can gather here. So that means there were 3 newcomers. Let's just make sure that is indeed the case. The newcomers are Kevin McCarthy, Laura Wagner, and Keith Lapointe.
If you want to call him a newcomer, yeah.
And once again, the president of the town council for another 2 years,
Unbelievable.
Be careful what you wish for, right?
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. Hey
Justin
guys,
Paré.
how are you doing? I think I have a few more gray hairs than I had the first time I won this.
We all
I was
have.
in this
Yeah.
room with you guys.
So Dan Donovan in the paper, and you kind of echoed the comments in the story by Stephen Peterson on Monday, labeled this as an election about the future of North Attleboro. Do we continue going in the direction that we do, or some would argue, do we listen to the vocal minority? Are they a vocal minority? I would say based on these results, they're the vocal minority that think the town has a spending problem. The council is moving the town in the wrong direction. So is the town manager and so on. Would you agree with that?
I agree with you. Yeah. First off, can I just thank my wife?
Yes.
My campaign manager. I want to and thank the town of North Attleboro. I'm so unbelievably honored to be the president again 3 times in a row. It's like I'm shocked. And I just can't say thank you enough to everyone. So thank you. So I'm sure I'm missing a lot of people, and Pat St. Pierre, we're going to miss her on the council as well. So I want to acknowledge that. But Peter, yeah, to your point, I did think, and I think a lot of us were talking today, and we've been talking over the last weeks, that this election was truly a referendum on the council, on our form of government, on the direction that we've gone over the last 8 years, right? Since 2018, since that override, and since the transition to this new form of government, and we have done a lot of great things. And I think the majority of people see that, they realize that, they put their trust in us, and we get one more chance to go at it again. And I'm just thrilled. And there was a vocal minority this time around, and their voices are heard. And I think we're going to listen to what they have to say and take that into account as we're moving forward with our plans. But at this point, I'm just happy that the town understands the good value that we've brought to the table over the last.
This definitely is
6
an
years.
affirmation of the direction that the voters want you to take the town in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've certainly been following this closely, certainly on social media. The North Attleboro Federation of Teachers, which I believe you were both interviewed by, of their 9 recommendations, 8 of the 9 were elected, and I think the only recommendation that person not recommended was Mark Gould Jr., who did win his seat back. There was an ad in Saturday's edition, the weekend edition, of the Sun Chronicle. Yes. I call it the Sunday edition of the Sun Chronicle. And I believe Keith LaPointe and Mark Gould were the only 2 recommended in that ad that were voted in today.
I wouldn't put much credence into that ad, frankly. I don't think I have much more to say about that ad, but I will say that I appreciated very much the North Attleboro Federation of Teachers endorsement, and support the schools, support the entire town. We support the seniors, we support everybody, right? Like, we're building a new senior center in town. We're looking to expand senior tax exemptions. Like, we care about the entirety of the town, including the schools, including the teachers, including the kids, right? And I think Keith and myself and the members that they endorsed have a track record over many years of really doing what's best for the kids in this town and the schools and the entire community.
There are the numbers, and you can see, I'm not sure if that's gold, but it should be gold if it's not gold. The candidates with the gold numbers, they will be representing you for the next 2 years. Justin Paré will be your council president. John Costello is back. Mark Gould Jr. is back. John Simmons is back. He has a little less responsibility. He's no longer the vice president. Keith LaPointe is the new vice president. Kevin McCarthy is new to the council for the next 2 years. Dan Donovan, and I spoke to a lot of people about Dan Donovan, and they said, boy, he really came into his own this year as a town councilor. Very impressed with him. Laura Wagner, who I was asked, among the candidates who were not incumbents, who impressed you the most? And I said, Laura Wagner was very impressive. She was a counselor in, was it Milford or somewhere? I forget.
Marlboro, it sounds right.
I knew it began with an M.
Yeah.
It's not Middleborough, it's Marlboro. Andrea Slebogan, of course, Annie Slebogan, and Keith LaPointe, who was the first town council president, is now the vice president. Were you Justin, the vice president under Keith?
I was.
So you flipped it
We
around.
flipped it around. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be back with Keith. Like we were a good team the first 2 years. I've loved serving with John over the last 4 years as the vice president. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to be just as busy as he was before. We're going to keep him on the finance committee 100%. Sorry, John, that's happening. And you know what? Like the newcomers are awesome. It's a good group. I'm happy that this is the group of new counselors that have joined us. Dan Donovan is one of my favorite counselors. Honestly, this guy is so prepared for every meeting. I have questions about Mass General Law, the bylaws, the rules, subcommittee, and whatever it might be. And Dan is going to do his homework, and he will have watched all the meetings, and he'll know it. So like I'm thrilled to be back with him. Annie also is just such a great partner. So like the folks that are coming back, I don't mean to leave anybody off. Like I'm thrilled with the incumbents that are coming back, and I'm thrilled with the new people that are coming on. Keith, obviously, wealth of experience, right? Was the first ever town council president. Has done so much for this community. So just to have, I think we have a super strong council coming into it this time.
I don't think that the voters have anything to complain about if you get 19 people willing to toss the hat in the ring in an era of social media. And also, I said before, sitting in town council meetings, probably not the most exciting thing to do, and you're committed to doing this every 2 weeks for 2 years at least.
You are.
It's and you're not getting paid for it.
No.
So I mean, it's a huge commitment. So I don't think the voters can complain. And like I said, it's a real affirmation on the direction of the council tonight's election. No question.
Last question for you, Justin. Someone asked me today, and I said, well, geez, I'm not really sure whether or not this gives some foresight into how the vote will go on June 3rd. If incumbents are reelected today, and you look, all but one of the incumbents was reelected today, this person felt that's a sign that the high school will pass. Is that person reading too much into it?
Maybe. I think if all the incumbents had lost and it had been a dramatic shift, I think that would have put the school project in jeopardy. That would have been a clear sign. I also think, and I was talking to Keith about this probably right before the polls closed, right, that if the school vote does fail, this council vote was critically important tonight, because the people that are going to be in office and making the decisions over the next 2 years are going to be the ones that are going to have to deal with the consequences of that. Like, what do we do in that situation? Right? How do we handle the school and the work that needs to be done? And in a tight budget constraints right now, like it's going to be, this next budget is going to be a tough budget year. So I think the leaders that we have in place right now are going to have to make some tough decisions. So I'm not going to read too much into these results. I think the school vote is a separate thing, but I do think this was a positive outcome, and I think the people that are in place right now are going to be the ones that can help push this project to completion.
Yeah. It'd be a totally different election too, because turnout is going to be higher for that. Almost certainly be higher.
Oh, for sure.
For that election, and they've got one decision to make at that election. They had just for contested races, they had 11 decisions to make. Yeah. They had 2 school committee candidates to choose from. And that's another thing. The school committee candidates, boy, you got some qualified ones here.
For sure.
Oh, my goodness.
3 great ones.
Yeah.
They're all going to get on.
And yeah, there was no loser in that race tonight. Justin and Keith, if you guys could switch seats off camera. Congratulations, Justin. So Keith, we were talking to you about what could happen. We now know what happened.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're back.
I am ecstatic. Like Justin, before I kind of dive in though, I really, really want to take a minute and thank my wife, Melanie, and my kids, Reagan and Zach. I've gotten emotional a lot lately thinking about it. Reagan heads to college this year. When I signed up for that first Board of Selectmen race, she was in 4th grade.
Wow.
So literally, she's grown up. Both kids have grown up watching this, and you guys know your kids have gone to college and sort of moved out of the house.
We'll be on.
It's a transitional time for you, right? And you spend a lot of time kind of reflecting on where you've been and where you're going. And for me, they're at the core of it all. Like all the time I've put in over the last almost 10 years now is because of them. And just this idea of like trying to build something that's going to be better for them and their peers is really important to me. And I love how they've been involved. The kids have been involved and their friends have been involved. And I think being able to really connect the dots on civic engagement with all those kids has been awesome.
Well, as a dad myself, and I'm sure you were both interviewed by the NAFT selection committee, and I don't know if you realize my daughter was part of that as well. And I thought it was so cool that, I'd be interviewing you in the afternoon here in the studio, and she'd be interviewing you at night. And we didn't compare notes or anything like that, but it's nice to see when your children, A, respect the civic responsibility that you have agreed to take on, and then you see they have an interest in it as well. It really is awesome as a parent.
It is awesome. Yeah. You guys know, you're so proud of your kids, and to see them moving on. It's amazing and emotional at the same time. So yeah.
Last question for you. I'll ask the same question I asked of Justin. Can we read anything from today's results looking ahead to June 3rd?
Well, I think you can read a couple things. First of all, huge kudos to Justin. I've said this a couple times. I'm like literally the only person in the world who knows how hard being the president of the town council in North Attleboro is, other than Justin. And that level of commitment and leadership, and you take so much blowback, and you still kind of keep things moving. And so I think what you can read into today's election is that it's a sign that he's been doing a really good job, and the voters appreciate that. And that they do appreciate the direction of the town. But Michael, you said it. The school elections is a different beast. And I really kind of agree with Justin's points. If the election had been different, I think it would have been a clear negative sign. But I would caution reading too much into this as a positive sign. There's a lot of work left to do. There's clearly people who want to understand better, and I hope they tune in. Right? There's just, I don't know how you do it in today's world, but there's just so much misinformation, and folks are working their butts off. They've been working
Social
their butts
media,
off for years.
misinformation. Come on,
I
get
don't
out
know.
of
If I
here.
could have anything, I would just wish everybody would just disengage from social media and buy their local newspaper.
Yeah.
I wish they would do that too.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
But I appreciate you guys. The work you do is huge. The coverage is phenomenal. We're blessed too. We have two newspapers in town. I mean, this little community gets a lot of coverage, and it's the only thing we have other than social media. So thanks, and thanks for always having the candidates in. I appreciate coming down after these long days.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin
Congratulations.
Paré, the president and vice president.
President, Vice President, yeah.
And Keith Lapointe. And we have 3 more candidates out there. Let's do them one at a time if we can. So, yes, because Keith just stole the chair. So,
No, he can,
yeah. John, slide that chair over so at least you're sitting in. Only one of you will be on camera at a time.
That's all that matters.
So we're going to start with Annie Slebogan. Annie, your thoughts on the results? I'm sure there are people out there in this community who are absolutely shocked that the incumbents did as well as they did.
Well, I'm not. I think that we have a good group. We've been doing really amazing things, and I'm just really proud and honored to still be sitting here in front of you knowing that I'm on this council again. And with some of the great people that we've been working alongside so far, and I'm really excited about some of the new people that are going to be joining us. I think that this is a great opportunity for our continued growth and change that we've been doing, and I'm so excited to see what happens next. Can I just say, though, because I know he's watching at Mad Moose Saloon right now, because Bruce and Seal are amazing and allow us to kind of just take over every time we have an election. So, Matt, thank you so much for putting up with me for the last couple of months, and taking over a house with campaign signs and being up late at night working on flyers and everything. So very excited, but go for it.
At the same time, you lose one of your incumbents,
Yes.
Patricia St. Pierre, and I saw her work on the finance committee. I appeared before that finance committee a couple of times. I would certainly hope this is not the last we see of her.
It would be a shame if it was. Pat is an amazing human being. She is dedicated, passionate. She always came to the table knowing what was going on, ready to start for the next challenge that we were going against. And even today, sat there all day long, along with the rest of us. And I know for a fact that we'll be continuing to see her. I won't let her go.
Any changes you see in the council, any new program and something new that voters can look forward to in the next 2 years?
I know you guys set goals for, it's one of the first things you do at the start of the new fiscal year. A change in direction in those goals moving forward?
Well, I think so. I think, we have a lot of things coming up on the plate. We have the vote coming up in June, so there'll be conversations probably around that. Justin, again, our president, has been leading us successfully already with exactly that. We sit down and go through our goals. For me, personally, I would love to see us centralize on bringing business into our town and growing that and working on economic development. I think that's super strong. It's something that's going to help with the conversation that's coming up in June.
And who's got the biggest N here? Everybody's got their block letter N?
Oh, it's like a Nebraska.
Clearly,
thing.
I do right now compared to my friend
Yes,
John over
yes,
here.
yes,
Yes.
John has the N as well. So final thoughts on today.
Aside the fact that I am slowly defrosting in front of you, it was really great to see people come out and vote. It was really great to be surrounded by 19 candidates throughout this process, to see the passion that people have for this town. You've heard me say it, I love North Attleboro. I'm so proud of this town and the fact that I've raised my family here and have amazing friends and people around me, and the work that you guys do. Your coverage, by the way, has been top-notch.
Thank you.
Chef's kiss on that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited as we go forward.
And all residents got a chance to watch it.
Yeah, 150% they did.
They did. Annie, thank you so much.
Thank
Why
you,
don't you
Peter.
guys switch
Congratulations.
seats?
Thank you.
Actually, Annie, if you want to switch with, and we'll bring in Dan, while John sits in front of the camera. I know you probably not only want to thank your family, but you want to thank the person who was just sitting in that chair.
I do. I would like to thank my wife, Lori, my daughter, Grace, my son, Jack, and my business partner, Faye. They have all had to put up with me on the campaign trail. I tend to get a little stressed and a little anxious while I'm out there. So I would really like to thank Annie as well, because she had to put up with me more than they did. She and I put a lot into this campaign, really tried to align our messages, run together. We have been friends for 20-something years, so it was easy. Had a fantastic time, and I really want to thank the people of North Attleboro, because they had a relatively stark choice in front of them today. Do they want to continue down the path that we've gone down the last 6 years, or do they want to tap the brakes? And they want to continue with what we are doing. I don't think there's any other way to read this than that. You have the majority of the incumbents returned, pro-growth, and people that are really forward-thinking and looking to grow this town. So I'm very excited to work with this council. I think it's going to be very strong.
It's no secret there's been some division among the council at recent meetings. Do you think today's results maybe quiets that a little?
It should.
Enough.
That was succinct, yes.
Michael?
Well, we asked about Keith and Justin about whether this is a precursor to the school vote, or is that just a totally different animal?
I think you can see who's motivated to come out.
You got to consider, though, the turnout's not going to be the same.
I think the turnout's going to be substantially higher.
You would think.
But they have a lot of time to get that vote ready. They have a lot of time to get the message out to everybody, to get the education out to everybody, to get the facts out to everybody. And I think when you see the facts, I don't see how you can look at this project and say that it's not needed. I don't think you can look at it and say that they made the wrong choice. I was on the building committee, am on the building committee. I don't think you can say that we made the wrong choice. I think the only question is, can you afford the cost? And that's going to be an individual decision best left up to our citizens and our residents, and we're going to have to abide by their wishes. But the need is clearly there, and I think that we made the best choice.
And having watched certainly a couple of the town council meetings, been there in person in March. I know, and to his credit, Mark Gould has suggested doing more for seniors, and the council and I believe the finance committee at the last finance committee meeting discussed what can be done to help seniors on fixed incomes.
Yes. My goal is to have the finance subcommittee return something back to the full council by the 14th of April. I don't think we're done after that, but I think we can make at least some steps by then, and then work on something broader.
Final question. You're no longer the vice president. Are
Yes.
you disappointed?
You're always disappointed when you're not number one, but I think we have a very strong council. I think Keith and Justin, it's very hard to argue with those two being the top two, and I would never argue with Andy beating me by 3 votes.
Who's got the bigger family?
In the town, probably I do.
Okay.
So that is proof that I don't ask anybody to bullet vote.
Well, thank you, sir. I don't know if you heard, but Justin announced that you will still be on the finance committee.
Excellent. I hope so.
Okay.
Thank you very
sir.
much. Thank you.
John
Congratulations.
Simmons. So Dan Donovan is going to shift over, and then Mike Costello is going to go into the John Costello.
John
Excuse
Costello,
me. It's been a long 3 weeks, John. It's been a long 3 weeks.
It's been a long day,
I
Peter.
went to college with a Mike Costello. That's where that came from. So he sits in the on-deck circle. So Dan Donovan, I don't know if you heard earlier, but I was talking to someone and they described you, and this wasn't a member of the town council, this was a member of the voting public, and they said, you know, years ago I did not vote for Dan Donovan, and quite a few people did not vote for Dan
Yes, they
Donovan
did.
way back then, but watching him on the council, he's a rising star.
That's humbling, Peter. It really is. I'm going to try not to get emotional. I have a tendency to get emotional these days. I'm speechless with the results. As I'm sure you guys both know, this is my 4th time running for council. I lost my first 2 times. I had the incredible honor and the daunting task of finishing out Joanne Cathcart's term, and then I won last time, and now I have won re-election. And I cannot thank the voters of North Attleboro enough to have that kind of faith in me. To the people who voted for me, thank you. I can't say it any better than that. Thank you. To people who didn't vote for me, I hope I earn your trust. I'm there to represent you too. I'm not there just to represent the people who voted for me, and I'm certainly not there to represent myself. That's not what I do.
And before we go on, do you have any family members to thank?
Thank you. I was just going to do that. Yeah. I first and foremost, I have to thank my wife, Joy. I told you, wouldn't be here without her. I have 2 sons, Connor and Owen. Sorry. I also have to thank Keith LaPointe. He was, other than Joy, he was the first person to convince me to run for council back in 2019. And I thought they were both out of their minds when they said it to me. I said, nobody's going to vote for me. And now here I am. Justin Pare has been an amazing friend, mentor, colleague. And I have to give a shout out to Andy Shanahan, who's decided not to run for re-election. He's another one that has just been in my corner from day one. And I wouldn't be here without people like that. And Joanne Cathcart, who I mentioned earlier, she was another mentor of mine. There's so many people to thank. I know it sounds like an Oscar speech, but it's true. There's so many people to thank. I can't
As
possibly
long as
thank
you
them all.
don't name your agent.
Those are the big ones.
But Justin mentioned it earlier that you're the guy who does a lot of the homework.
I try to.
And I know you're very responsive online when people have questions. Why? Why do you do that? I'm doing it more to point out to people.
Yeah,
that
no,
it's-
it's a great question, and people ask me that all the time. Like they really do this. They say, "You don't get paid for this. Why are you doing it?"
Why are you doing it?
I don't know any other way to do it. I take it so seriously. People have invested in us the responsibility of managing their tax dollars. that's an enormous responsibility. And I don't think I'm doing the job right if I don't do my homework, if I don't watch other board meetings, if I don't know what the planning board is doing that might end up on our table, zoning changes or whatever. I'm not doing the job the way I see that I need to do it. So that's why I do it. Most people who know me would probably say I'm a little nuts too. That's probably fair too.
Now, you're currently on the Finance Committee, correct?
I am. Finance and bylaw, and I chair the communications subcommittee.
Would you like to continue on as Finance Committee?
If they'd have me. It's one of the things about finance that I love is you learn so much more because you're really looking in depth at budgets, line items. You're looking at all these different departments, and you can't get that knowledge anywhere else. Even on the council itself, you don't get that same thing.
The people who are critical, and I'm sure you watch the candidates' interviews.
Mm-hmm.
North Attleboro has a spending problem. North Attleboro has a spending problem. Would you like to see them get that detailed in the budget as you do? Attend Finance Committee meetings, watch them on TV?
You can't expect people to do that. The level of involvement that we have is so that other people don't have to do that. What I do wish is that when they make those criticisms and we answer them, that they'd listen to the answers, that they wouldn't assume bad intent, which happens way too often, particularly on anti-social media. But again, that comes with the territory. You have to listen to them, but you can't take it personally. You can't take it to heart. And people are going to believe what they're going to believe. There are still people who refuse to believe we've done anything to clean up the water. $12 million later, we've done nothing to clean up the water.
And when are you going to do something about the rats?
Yeah, when are we going to do anything about the rats? The trash barrels are too small. You name it. I've seen people complain about potholes on a street. We fix the potholes, and then they complain about people speeding on the street. What are you going to do?
It's called having a thick skin.
You have to. My son says that to me all the time. He's like, Dad, how do you look at stuff on social media? I said, because you have to have a thick skin. You can't take any of this. Most of these people don't know me. So whatever they say, even if it's hurtful, it's not personal because they don't know me. So I don't take it personal.
Dan, congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Peter.
You're on,
Thank
you're
you,
on a
Mike.
2-game winning streak.
Yeah, let's keep it up, huh? And it's. I just have to say again, thank you for everything you guys do. North TV is such an incredible resource for the town in a time when we don't have a lot of local media, when it's starting to dwindle. We need North TV, and I'm glad that we've been able to keep our partnership going. It's been great.
That would be a good marketing.
Yeah.
We need North TV.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
So John, not to be confused with Mike Costello sliding over, and I saw Kevin McCarthy out there, Dan, if you could send him in. John, I was thinking about this as Dan was talking, you were sitting there. You won a seat on the school committee. You ran for town council. You won. You won this time around. Adam Scanlon, everybody talks about Adam Scanlon. He's never lost an election. Have you ever lost an election?
Yes.
You did. When?
I lost in 2022, I believe it was, for re-election to school committee by a hair.
Okay.
I ended up back on there because under the charter there was a member who had to resign for personal reasons, and I was the runner-up, so I was basically just put it right back in there.
So you're batting .667.
What's that?
2 of 3? 3 elections, you've won
Yes.
twice? All
Yes.
right. Batting .667.
Yeah, a
That's
young
Hall
man,
of Fame.
still a veteran already, a veteran of town government. I'll ask the
I
same
guess
question I
so.
asked Dan. Why do you do this? Why do you? You must enjoy it.
I do, even though sometimes I think I might be a little nuts to enjoy it, but I think it's important that people be involved in their town government. That is what affects your daily life more than anything, more than the president, more than the state, more than anything else. Also, I think it's good to be young and involved in this because you're going to have the most at stake in anything that happens.
Yeah.
And I think mentioned this before. My strength is listening, and I think people want people who, listen in town government and not just talk.
Speaking of talking, you don't speak a lot at town council meetings. Is that on purpose, or do you just pretty much study everything and?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, personally, I believe no one really elects somebody to just do a whole lot of talking. As I said, I think people would rather them listen. Also, it was my first term on town council, so there's a lot of learning involved.
Yeah.
But when I have something to say, I'll say it. And otherwise, I like to listen and absorb, and that helps me in decision making.
What have you learned the first 2 years in the council? You've got Kevin sitting next to you there. What is he going to learn over the next 2 years that you learned?
I think he'll learn that the pace of government is somewhat frustrating, but it needs to be. This sounds bad to say it needs to be slow, but government is slow for a reason, because we want to make sure that all our ducks are in a row. Yep. What is A, what is B, what is Z? Because everything affects everybody. Yep. Whether it's a tax cut or what have you, everything that we do has an effect on everyone in town in some way, shape, or form, and some may benefit from it and others may not. So that's why we have to think holistically and just look at everything to make sure that the decision that we're making is the best for the town as a whole.
You think it's slow now. Imagine being on the select board back when there was RTM, and you'd have to have a special town meeting to get something.
Well, I actually was on RTM a couple of times. I was very young then. I was college age then. And that was definitely snail-paced. I think that's an understatement.
Archaic, yes.
So what do you hope to accomplish as town councilor and as a town council over the next 2 years?
I definitely like to see new growth, especially if the high school passes, and I think this result is a harbinger of what's to come. I think it's a good sign for the high school, but who knows? You never know who will turn out in June. But new growth is going to be very important to make sure that we have an adequate tax base to minimize the increase on everybody, and that includes residents, businesses, industrial. New growth is going to be essential to making sure that we can all absorb that.
100%.
Final question. Is there anyone you want to thank?
Of course. I'd like to thank my parents, first and foremost. My parents, Steve and Julie, who, by the way, did not grow up in North Attleboro. They are not townies. I guess I am at this point. But yes, I'd like to thank them first and foremost. Also, my beautiful girlfriend, Meg, as well as all of my friends, and just anyone who supported me, whether they lived in town and could vote for me or just giving me moral support. I'd like to thank all of them for this. I did not expect to move up to 5th place. I'll just say that, being a first-term counselor. But it's definitely a pleasant surprise.
John, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Peter.
Have a good night.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Congratulations. Moving into the hot seat is one of the new town councilors.
Yep.
Kevin McCarthy finished
How we
with
doing?
1,395 votes, and Laura Wagner is going to sit into the chair next to you.
Yep.
As she gets ready, gives a hug to John. Kevin, your thoughts? Finished number 7 out of 19. First time running.
I'm utterly shocked and truly blessed. It just shows what I've been doing over the last 3 years has not been unnoticed. I've worked really hard to get to where I am right now. So to me, it means a lot. And I hope that we could work together as a team and really grow this town. Keep it going in the right direction, the way it's supposed to be, because I truly care, and I know Laura cares, and I'm almost in tears here. This is my first time running for anything in my entire life. So I grew up giving back with my father, Rich McCarthy, so I got to thank him, of course, and my wife, Rebecca, and my kids, Sam and Zach, if you guys are watching. But I do the things I do because I love doing it. I love giving back, and I really go above and beyond, I believe, and I don't know.
This was an interesting election. First
Yeah.
of all, 19 people.
Yep.
For the first time in the 20 years I've been covering North Attleboro town elections, you had a political party come out with a slate of candidates. Only one of them, Mark Gould, was elected. You've been around North Attleboro a hell of a lot longer than I have, maybe not as long as Mike, but had you ever seen anything like that before? And did that end up backfiring?
No, I don't. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just so thrilled to be here, and I haven't really followed town politics up until 3 years ago when I got involved, and I sat up at the dog park and helping to get that up and running, and then I joined a couple other things. But
And why do you do
yeah,
that?
what's that?
Why do you do that?
I love to see something, get in a problem or correct it. And my father's always told me that if you don't like something, get involved and make a change. And I've always done that. So we didn't have a dog park here, and I couldn't figure out why. So I got involved, and that kind of kicked it off. And then I joined the Cultural Council and did a few things over there. And then next thing you know, I'm on 3 nonprofits, and I still do the Scouts. Very proud of my Scouts. Troop 23, North Attleboro, best troop in town. So I don't know, I like to be involved and do what I do.
Final question, how's the foot?
Oh, it's getting there.
Now,
It's
what
getting
did you do? You broke it?
I broke my big toe. I dropped a brake rotor on it at
Oh, my
work.
goodness.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. But that's okay. Nothing stops me.
So were you standing out there all day today?
Yep,
Oh, my God.
most of it. Sat for a while, but it was cold.
Yeah.
But I'm actually absolutely shocked that I'm here. I did not, but it goes to show that people do notice what I do, and I think that's what's getting me choked up.
Kevin, congratulations. Looking
Congratulations.
forward to
Thank you.
covering you over the next couple of years.
Thanks.
So Kevin will make his way out behind our old anchor desk, and excuse me, if you did that drinking game, you would be passed
yeah.
out on the couch by now.
Oh, yeah.
With the coughing. I started out by saying if you want to take part in a drinking game, every time I cough, have a drink.
Oh, no.
And if that were the case, that they're out on the couch right now. But Laura Wagner
Ubering home.
finished 8th with 1,256 votes. Was it Marlboro you had served?
Yes.
Before?
I served 2 terms in Marlboro.
on
They were also
the
2-year terms.
council?
So council, yeah, city council.
The city council. So you
So-
have a mayor and
Yes.
Now, I was reading somewhere, is North Attleboro considered a city by the state?
it's the city form of government, yeah.
City form
My
of
understanding, we're technically a city. We're incorporated as a city, but our name is the town of North Attleboro.
Okay.
Sometimes that transition from a town to a city is stressful for people, so the name matters. But it really has to do with the form of government.
So first time running here in the city/town
Yes.
of North Attleboro.
Yes.
Elected. Your
Yes.
thoughts?
I'm just so honored. I'm relatively a newcomer to the town. I've only been living here about 1.5 years. And so I went out door knocking. So the best way, I'm really serious about this. So I was able to hit, I think, about 4. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of precincts. I hit about 4 precincts. I knocked on a lot of doors. I had some great conversations and really appreciated meeting people and hearing what they had to say and being able to talk about what I think, and the trust in people was amazing. A lot of waves, a lot of thumbs ups, and that meant so much to me. Again, being a relatively newcomer, so to make that connection with people and get that trust, I take that very seriously, and will take this role very seriously.
As you know, I sat behind you at the March 24th Town Council meeting. You took the most detailed notes, and you're not even on the council yet.
Well, so I was on, like I said, I was on council. So I finished that role in December 2023, and I thought, okay, I'm done. And it means so much to me. It's so real. So January 2024, I said, well, I'll see what's going on in North Attleboro. So I started attending the meetings, and I think for people who are new to it, it might seem, I don't want to say boring, tedious, but when you really get to the detail of the issues and you follow it, it's always very fascinating. So for me, I take detailed notes so I can look back. Okay, we talked about this. I can. My notes are the facts that were given, so I remember timelines. Where this goes next. It was referred to finance committee, and then next there needs to be a public hearing, and so I will continue that with this role. I need to know exactly if I'm going to be involved and know what's going on in the town. I need to have those details. So I attended every city council meeting. I might miss one or two for sickness, but then I watched it on TV. I watch all the planning meetings, and I also watch all the finance committee meetings. And now that in this position, I want to add at least the school committee. Schools are very important to me, so I'm going to watch the school committee meetings on a regular basis.
That's an awful lot to do for some. You've only been here a year and a half, you said? That's a lot to give to the town.
Well, this town matters. This is my home now, and this town matters to me, and I believe community is everything to me. In fact, I mean, from a mental health perspective, the connection of community is beautiful to me, and it just keeps me grounded and makes me feel happy. And so that's not a spectator sport. I want to be involved, and involved doesn't mean me talking without understanding what has transpired to this point, what are all the things to consider, what's all the information to understand. So I believe that, particularly an elected official, I have the obligation to understand the issues in depth. So I will continue that, and I enjoy it.
Final question. Do you have anyone to thank?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I should probably start with my husband, Papa, because in order for me to have the whole day starting at 7 o'clock and being there all day, my day job is taking care of 2 grandchildren. So I popped home for nap time and lunch and bringing one to preschool. But other than that, Papa was in charge today, so I couldn't have done today without him. So thank you to my husband, and I really appreciate some of the just real people that really have roots in this town. John Donahue, I've been serving on charter committee with him, and he's just been so supportive of me being a newcomer and really giving me that institutional history that he holds. And I'm so appreciative of him. And Adam Scanlon, also the institutional memory of this town, and giving me the encouragement to take this, to try this now. And again, being a newcomer, I went into it with I'm going to do the best I can, but really I'm so proud that I am, and honored that I've been given this trust. I wasn't sure I was going to make it being so new, but here I am, and I will, I hope not to disappoint.
You were not around to hear this, but someone asked me over the weekend, you interviewed all but 2 of the town council candidates, among the new people coming into this election. Who impressed you the most? And I said, Laura Wagner.
Thank you.
And that was before I sat behind you at a town council meeting. So if you are going to be the councilor that I think you're going to be, and I think the voters think you're going to be, North Attleboro made a great choice today. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go join the party. I guess they're down the street at the Mad Moose.
Yes. Thank you so much.
I don't think we have anyone else out there, right? We do not. So let's take a look at the numbers one last time, if we may. The names in gold are the ones who are elected. Justin Paré, John Costello, Mark Gould Jr., John Simmons, Kevin McCarthy, Dan Donovan, Laura Wagner, and Andrea Slobogin, along with Keith LaPointe. And on the school committee side, all 3 are in.
They're all going to be, all going to be serving.
Lindsay Aubin Ben Harris finished with 1,759 votes. Carrie Orsi with 1,365. Colleen Endress was not one of the 2 top vote getters, but because Keith LaPointe's moving on, 1,188. There are those totals as well. And once again, I don't think you could make a bad choice among those 3.
Those 3 candidates,
those 3 women.
The school committee candidates were very.
Final thoughts, Mike.
Two quick things. First of all, definitely an affirmation, as I said earlier, for the direction of the town. There were some people, longtime townies, who were on the ballot, and certainly were well known among people. But the people who have been leading, and those that think alike with them, were the ones that actually were elected. And again, I think North Attleboro voters have a lot to be thankful for, because having 19 candidates for town council is outstanding. Having these 3 women running, very qualified women running for school committee, North Attleboro should be thankful.
Did you ever think in the land of Joe Martin that the North Attleboro Republican Committee would put up a slate of 5 people and only 1 would get elected?
Yeah.
Do you ever think you'd see that?
The Republican Party isn't the same Republican Party that Joe Martin was a leader of. I would say that. So, and the town has certainly changed too. I mean, I believe there are more Democrats than Republicans in the town, and there weren't a whole lot of Democrats in this town even when I was little. And when my father was, I don't think anybody. Joe Martin had a line in his book. He goes, "The very air I breathed was Republican. Everything with North Attleboro was Republican," in his autobiography. So it's not that way anymore.
Yeah, certainly not that way this evening, today, April Fool's Day, 2025. Want to thank Chris Miller, want to thank Eric Kugler, want to thank Kevin Daggett, want to thank everyone here at North TV, Mike Kirby, of course. We will be live, you won't see it, we'll be on the Plainville channel next Monday night at 8:15 with their election results. No contested races, so that should be a very, very quick election. Want to thank you for joining us. One final drink there. Want to thank you for joining us. We'll be back again in June 3rd, with kind of an important election.
Yep, I think that will
June
be
3rd, and we'll be live that night at 8:30 as well. Thank you for watching North TV's exclusive election night coverage.